The Head Coach Isaac Collins Show. Here's Dan Flickinger and Seton Hill Head Coach Isaac Collins.
And we continue live from Offutt Field in Greensburg. Certainly a buzz around Offutt Field right now as we get ready for the season opener of Griffins football here on the Westmoreland Sports Network. It is the Three Rivers Orthopedic pregame show, and our first chat with head coach Isaac Collins entering his second season in charge of the Griffins football program. And Coach, it was only, 6 months ago we were in this very room talking about the recruiting class, and now you've had spring ball since then, training camp, obviously the off season in the summer, doing things with a lot of local guys working out here. Then you had the scrimmages. Now you can focus on just playing football and just playing Shippensburg here tonight. How excited are you guys?
We're very excited. We talk to our players. We have a saying at the end of the week, the hay's in the barn. So, we pack that thing away now. Finally, an opportunity to hit someone else, and I think our kids are really excited about this big opportunity.
Coach, the big question I'm sure everyone that follows the Seton Hill football program wants to know is how much better you guys look now as opposed, I know you haven't played a game yet, but how much better you looked in the scrimmages, in spring ball, and in training camp as compared to last year? I
think from an operation standpoint, it's night and day. It's not even close. And I talk to our coaches a lot, and I give them a lot of the credit. They've done a great job of preparing our kids. I think our kids have done a great job this offseason in their training and preparation. So when the lights go on, hopefully the boys come out and play the way that we think they're going to play, and think they'll have a great chance to compete against a really good football team.
You guys had 2 scrimmages at Offutt Field. I was able to go to one of those a couple of weeks ago, and certainly personally, I thought you guys looked a lot more crisp than you did last year. And obviously, being in your program now for 2 years, the players kind of know what the coaching staff's looking for now.
Absolutely. We had a few penalties, that we had to get cleaned up leading into the opener. But from a standpoint, I think our guys kind of understand now what to expect. There's no surprises for them, and that's half the battle. When you're building a program, you're trying to position yourself to be successful. Our guys just understanding kind of the pitfalls, and I think we're moving past that.
Seton Hill finished the season last year 1-10, but you ended the year on a very high note, snapping the program losing streak with a victory over Cheney, 17-10 in kind of thrilling fashion. You guys scored towards the end of the game, but I just want to know how big that victory was against Cheney, just getting a W for this football program and these players that are coming back this year, and then heading into the offseason. We talked after the game, Coach, about how much momentum you thought they would give the program. How much do you think, again, I know you haven't played a game yet, but how much do you think it helped just moving into the offseason activity?
Well, I think it helped a ton, and Tyler Zimmer put it best in one of the talks to the team about just the bus ride back from Cheney, having that monkey off their back, so to speak, and being able to kind of focus on hopefully experiencing that more often and have that not be the norm, as they say. So from our standpoint, it was huge. I think our guys understand what the expectations are, and getting your first win in the PSAC whenever it comes is great. Now our hope is that we have the ability to go out and now put a string of those together.
Well, we mentioned the last time we were in this room, and I guess talking on the air, was when we were introducing the recruiting class. And so before we talk about the season, I want to ask you once again about this year's recruiting class that you brought in. A lot of freshmen, obviously, but a lot of transfers in this year, too, to kind of replenish the depleted depth that you guys had at a lot of different positions, specifically offensive line. I noticed you have a lot of tight ends now, and quarterbacks. I know I guess that might have been the biggest. Coach, so just kind of talk about what your strategy was in the recruiting class this year.
Well, we wanted to make sure, number one, that we brought some depth back, but more importantly, bringing some depth in the classes. I think it was important to us, our program, that we got some older kids in. I know a lot of people think it's easy to just go out and get a big freshman class, and that's the way you want to build it. But unfortunately, when you're dealing with scholarships, you really can't do that because you have to balance out your dollars in each class. So when a group graduate, you want to be able to go out and replace them. So if we would have went out and took 50, 60 freshmen and tied up all our funds, well, those dollars are now tied up for the next 3 to 4 years. So what our plan was, we wanted to get a little bit older, get some experience. We really kind of concentrated on our junior class. It was a really small class, and our hope is going forward that this current senior class will be the last small class that we'll have, and hopefully we'll have classes of 12 to 15, which obviously makes a big difference in your program, especially when you're competing in the conference that we're in terms of the PSAC.
couple of transfer quarterbacks in the class, also offensive linemen, which I know obviously is very important. Can you talk about what your strategy was in terms of position in the recruiting class?
Well, same deal there. We wanted to make sure we got some experience in the offensive line, so we were able to go out and recruit a few guys there. We wanted to have an experienced quarterback to come in. We were unsure of what Drew's status was going to be, but certainly we're excited to have him back. But we feel good about the guys that we brought in that are behind him, as well as Christian Strong, who was our redshirt freshman quarterback, who did a great job last year on scout team, and really looking forward to watching him compete as the season goes on. And then defensively, we talked about it. I really think across the board at our skill positions, we wanted to get longer. We wanted to try and find some taller corners, some taller receivers. We're able to do that, a little bit easier, going the transfer route than would have been necessarily finding high school kids.
Staying with the recruiting class, you brought in a number of local players in the class, and I know we talked about it on the recruiting show, and we've talked about it a number of times, how important it is to you to bring in local guys as well as other guys from outside of the area. 5 Westmoreland County guys were in the recruiting class. I want to get them all here. Adam Polikovsky, Luke Milsick, Ty George, Logan Carnes, and Mike Wise. So again, why is it so important for you guys to have a good core of local guys? And we mentioned the guys in the recruiting class, but obviously Tyler Zimmer's local, Falatovich is local, and some other guys as well.
I think their development, it goes off the chart, especially in their first year. A number of those guys you just mentioned are going to find themselves on the field this fall, and part of it is because they spent the summer here training with the upperclassmen, learning the system from them, understanding how we do business here. And I think that's so critical. If you recruit a guy from California, he might not be able to get here till August, so that makes it a little bit more difficult in his development. And it almost puts him about a year behind in terms of his development. So from our perspective, we understand it's really important from the personal development of our program, but also from a standpoint of putting folks in the stands. I know that there's going to be a strong contingent.
And there was for the scrimmages too.
Yes.
I mean, there was a lot of people to watch the scrimmages. I mean, that was pretty cool to see.
No, and that's part of our building process. If you can do well in your backyard, certainly it sets the table for you to do well when we have to branch out.
Well, let's talk more specifically about this year's team, and really for the, I guess, 3rd straight year, it all starts with Tyler Zimmer. Hard not to get a smile on your face when you talk about this kid, Coach. I guess the only unfortunate thing is now he's a senior, but I'm sure he's going to be leaving it all on the field this year. Again, just talk about what makes him so special and how he leads the defense.
I don't want to sound like I'm beating a dead horse, but it just starts with just the type of person he is. Certainly was raised well, tremendous leader in our program. Just listening to the freshmen who have only known him for a few weeks talk about him. When they get a chance to speak to the team, it really gets me excited because he really is everything that you want in a football player. Not only a great athlete, but a great person, great leader, tremendous student. He's going to serve our community well when he departs, and I'm certainly going to enjoy every second that we have him because he will definitely be missed when his time passes.
We'll be talking with Tyler coming up after we're done talking with Coach Collins here on the pregame show, getting you ready for Seton Hill and Shippensburg, here live from Offutt Field in Greensburg. An interview with Tyler Zimmer coming up. Not only does Tyler return in the linebacker core, Coach, I know Chase Parker a little bit banged up, but he comes back as a returning starter along with Tim Johnson. Have to say that group certainly an area of strength for you coming into this year, right?
Without a doubt, and it showed up, especially in our first scrimmage. Chase got hurt in the second scrimmage, nothing major, but kind of set him back a little bit. But I think Tyler was probably the one that was relieved the most because it's nice to be able to line up and not have to worry about the guy to the right or the left. They know exactly what's going on, and so it'll be some adjustments until we get Chase back in the fold. But definitely having that experience at the second level allows you to do some different things defensively.
Andrew Kopp will be playing in Chase's spot here tonight. What can you tell us about Andrew? I know, again, we spoke about him on the recruiting show, and from the research that I did, a very good kid. And how has he been looking, though, in camp football-wise?
Yes, he's just trying to get caught up on the playbook. He's been one of those guys that's a tremendous athlete, can run to the football, can make some things happen. So really excited to see him get his first start and see how he does in our opener here. But I think just the good news for us is that his playing time now gets increased, and I think it's only going to help us down the road in terms of being able to build some depth.
Well, let's flip over to the offensive side of the ball. And again, for the second straight year, Andrew Jackson returns to lead the offense. Unfortunately, he tore an ACL in the first game of the year last year against Fairmont State. Is he healthy? How does he look, Coach? I know, again, I saw him in some practices and scrimmages. I thought he was looking pretty good. What do you think? What is the evaluation right now of Drew coming into this season?
I think it's been really good. I mean, anytime you come back from an injury like that, it's, the biggest thing is just getting people around your legs. And I think he's done a really good job in the spring game and the scrimmages that we've had, and even in some of the team periods of getting back comfortable to who he is. There's no doubt has a live arm, but the biggest thing that I've been excited about this offseason is he's really stepped it up in terms of his leadership. He's really kind of grabbed some guys and said, hey, this is what we need to do. This is the way we need to do it. And from my perspective, I'm excited to see. We just got to keep him healthy, and we got to protect him. And I think if he has time, he's going to do an outstanding job tonight.
When guys come off those ACL tears, you mentioned you got to have that confidence back when you can take a hit. Do you think it's going to take him to take his first hit against Shippensburg to really feel that he's the whole way back, or do you feel that he's pretty comfortable right now?
Well, I'm hoping we don't have to find that out.
Yeah, that's right. He's going to stay clean.
I think anytime you're a football player, get that first hit in, and it kind of settles things, because it's kind of I can take it, I can do it, I'm back to normal. So, whether you're a quarterback or, a running back or a linebacker, anytime you've been out for an extended amount of time, that first, hit really kind of sets the table for you. So I think he'll be no different. We're going to try to get him settled in the game as quickly as possible, get him comfortable, because I really think as he goes, our offense will go.
Well, we have so many people to talk about, but we do have this pregame interview for every week, so we'll kind of spread out the wealth throughout the season, so in the interest of time. But I do want to ask you, though, we know what Tyler Zimmer brings, what Drew brings when he's healthy, and what some other guys bring, like Phil Moreland returning as well as an upperclassman. But can you talk about some of the other guys that maybe stood out in camp? I don't want to say came out of nowhere, but stood out, had good camps, and played well in the scrimmages, and you're expecting maybe to take another step this year.
Well, I'm really excited about our defensive line. I think that Arthur Sapdong, who's our only senior up front, has really done a good job leadership-wise. But Jamaris Richardson, Atia, those guys have done a really good job of coming along as training camp has gone forward, and they're going to be big in terms of our success, because we do play against some big physical offensive linemen, and I really like the way they're playing right now. I think they're getting a better understanding of what we're doing, and when you have a couple sophomores, a couple freshmen, sometimes you don't know what you're going to get, but been very pleased with them. Been very pleased with our offensive line, the way they're starting to come together in jail. Really excited, obviously, about our running backs. I think we got three guys that can really tote the pill. Evan Birds, had a good camp. Patrick Jackson's had a good camp. Brandon Stout has had a good camp. So, and our fullbacks, it's been, Brent's been a little bit down, but, we're excited that we're going to get him back. But Khalil Howard has, shifted from tailback and played some fullback for us, and he's had a really good camp. And you mentioned before the tight end. So across the board, we have a lot of question marks, but I'm excited about those question marks because I think there's some talent there. I think our big challenge as a football program is just going to be overcoming some of the mistakes that we know they're going to make, just because this is going to be their first ball game.
Shippensburg Red Raiders come into town here tonight for Seton Hill's opener. This is a non-conference game, not a conference or crossover game. And some may say, wow, Coach, you guys really scheduled a pretty darn good football team for your non-conference game. Talk about what the appeal was to open the season against Shippensburg this year, and then, I guess, head there next year.
I think when you're trying to establish, a tradition, when you're trying to build a championship organization, it starts with going out and finding people that have been doing it very well, and certainly Shippensburg is one of those teams. Westchester is one of those teams, Bloomsburg. So, having an opportunity to play teams like that in the crossover, as well as, the tough competitors we're going to have in the West, it really kind of sets the table for us in terms of being able to evaluate where we're at as a program, and that's what we want to do. I think our players would agree with it. We want to know where we're at today, not where we're going to be 10 years from now, and I think the only way we can evaluate and recruit and make sure we get there is you got to play some tough opponents.
Let's look at Shippensburg a little bit closer. Zach Zulli, I'm pretty sure everybody in the PSAC is extremely happy to see that he's graduated. But one of the best conference quarterbacks really in the history of the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. He has moved on to the next level. At last check, as we mentioned earlier, I guess he was playing for the Alouettes in the Canadian Football League. But Trevor Harmon returns, one of the best receivers in Division II, and actually 9 of 11 starters return on offense. So for those that are thinking, Shippensburg are going to take a step back, we'll see. I mean, again, they have 9 returning starters. What do you see from them offensively? And do you think they're going to do a lot of different things without Zoli in there than what they did with him in there, Coach?
I don't think so. I think when you look at it, they were smart in the way that they went through their season last year, because their backup got some playing time, and he even played. He was actually leading rusher in our game. Mm-hmm. So certainly I think they're going to try to play to his strengths, and I think the unknown for a lot of people is how well will he throw it. I mean, they know that he can run it. Watching him on film in the throws he's had, he's got a strong arm. I think he's every bit as capable of running their system. So I don't think you'll see it deviate too much. Anytime you got your skill guys back and you got guys back up front, we're going in and anticipating that we're going to get their normal system, that they're not going to deviate too much from what they've done, because they've had success with it.
On the other side of the ball for Shippensburg, defensively, they don't return as many starters. They lose a really good sack guy in Metz, but they're still pretty stout. What do you see from them on the defensive side of the football?
I think their linebackers are going to be their strength, kind of like ours. I mean, they're going to have some young guys up front, some young guys on the back end, but their linebackers are very talented, very active. They're fast. They can run. So I think they're going to kind of play to that strength. But they got a system in place that they've been running for a while there, and certainly I think when you look at Shippensburg, they're going to recruit good players. So it's just a matter of who that name is, who's the next Mets. And from our perspective, that's what's appealing to us about playing this game is that that you're not going to get a team that's having a down year. You're going to get a good football team. They will be in the running for the East title. So we're excited to kind of measure up and see how we can do against a really good team.
What do you guys have to do here tonight to get a victory against Shippensburg, Coach?
Well, it's going to sound just like last year. I mean, the number one thing is we got to take care of the football. I think offensively we're going to have to help. They're lacking experience on defense, so we're going to have to be able to run the football, hang on to the football, keep their offense off the field. Mm-hmm. We know how explosive that offense can be, and with all those skill guys coming back, certainly they're going to have a chance to make some big plays. And I think sometimes the best defense is a good offense. So we're hoping that we can protect the ball. We're going to have to score points. One of the things that was exciting about last year is that we were able to move the football and put some points on the board early. We just kind of stalled a little bit in the second quarter and into the second half. So if we're able to protect the football, score some points, and I think defensively where I'm excited is that I think our guys have done a pretty good job most of camp of not giving up the big plays, and that's what we've been selling them on. Let's make them earn it. We know that they got great receivers, they got a good quarterback, they got good running backs. They're going to have some success, but let's make them chop the field down and not give up, the 60-yard double pass that we gave up, the 60-yard long run that we gave up. Let's not give them easy scores, and let's see if we can kind of create a tempo for 4 quarters like we did in their first drive where we got a turnover last year.
So you would say ball control offensively and defensively, just limiting the big play against their high-powered offense?
Absolutely.
All right, there you go. One final thing for you, Coach. I got to ask you, what are some of the good things that you're seeing with this program now in your second season at the helm? And so talk about some of the good things, and then some of the things that you still feel that you guys need to get better at as a group. I'm not even talking necessarily X's and O's, but just some of the things you're seeing that are going well right now, some of the things you guys still need to get better to where you want this program to be.
I think the biggest thing I'm seeing is our leadership. I'm not having to, as they say, be the bad guy all the time. Our seniors, our captains, our leadership council, before I can say something to correct something, they're saying something. I think that's a good sign of a program that's starting to take steps in the right direction. So that has me excited. I think the talent level is increased. I think we got a little bit more competition. And competition is really good in terms of being able to move your program forward, because you have a couple things. One is hopefully you have some depth. Two is you're going to get the best, because guys know, hey, there's a guy behind me that if I don't do my part, he's going to take my spot, or he's going to be taking my minutes on game day. So those are kind of the 2 biggest things that I've seen, in our guys. I think character-wise, we're having less issues, in terms of guys off the field. I get so excited when I walk across campus and listen to faculty athletes just randomly come up to me and say, hey, what a great job your young men are doing, and how respectful they are. I got an email the other day of one of our staff members here at Seton Hill that kind of said they were proud to see they ran into a few of our players in Walmart. Which you never know what you're going to get with our crew.
I actually ran into a couple of coming out of Walmart the other day.
And she just talked about just how well mannered they were and how respectful they were, and that's really putting the wins and losses in the game aside. That's what we're here to do. We're here to build men of character. That's really important to our program, important to me, and I think we're on that path. Flipping to the other side, things that we got to still consistency. I think we've had, especially in the last few practices, we're kind of inconsistent sometimes with the focus, with the details of what we need to do. But that's to be expected, of a young football team. You're going to get that. But that's really the only one that I can kind of point to. I think we're on the path. I think we're taking steps in the right direction, and certainly tonight's going to be a great opportunity for us to kind of gauge how much further we need to go.
Well, Coach, very excited to see the crowd here tonight. It's been great for the scrimmages. You open at home. I'm sure it has to be very exciting for you after such a hectic time being hired here, and now you got the full year under your belt, now almost 2 years under your belt. Now you guys can just focus on football. Good luck here tonight against Shippensburg. Going to be a lot of fun, and looking forward to working with you once again. You're always very professional and handling all the media attention that you receive from us and everybody else, so thank you.
I appreciate it. We're excited and looking forward to a great night.
That is head coach Isaac Collins in his second season at Seton Hill University. Don't go away. We do have kickoff coming up in just a little while here on the Three Rivers Orthopedic pregame show, but coming up right after this quick message, we'll be joined by Tyler Zimmer, starting senior linebacker for the Griffins, as we continue live on the Westmoreland Sports Network.